course, Abhishek. Let me put it in perspective first. Look at China. 10 years back, we're giving example of China. Everybody is giving example of India, which I told in my class that is going to happen 10 years back. Look at the situation now. What happening is now is pandemic Chinese growth was plus 2.2. I repeat, it is plus 2.2, 2020. We had minus 6.6. It was the highest in our history of negative growth.
Right.
Now China is far below than us.
Right.
Whatever policies or whatever,
Right.
that is the reason. Now seeking opportunities, you asked me one question on skill. So I will just take this audience. We have, skill is an important thing, but we never discuss in Indian context the foreign language. I will give an example. The Eurozone growth rate is 0 by the World Bank statistics, 2023. So they have to take their growth rate to some positive level. Similarly, the UK growth rate, UK is fine because English is there, US is fine.
Right.
But many places in Eurozone, you require a local language, Germany, France, and all those things.
Right.
So we, in the education institutions, besides technology, we have to look into this.
All right.
So this opportunity you have to take.
Okay, Kavita, according to you, are opportunities and some threats? So for example, if I look at opportunities, our defense exports are growing. Our engineering capital goods exports are growing. I was looking at this interesting number that till just about a year and a half back, our toy exports were just about 300 crore rupees. That has increased to about 2,600 crore rupees this year. So that's one opportunity where you're looking at manufacturing becoming a strength. Or some threats, private capital. Even Shamika Ravi was mentioning that we are not having as much private investment. We have not had as much private investment over the last decade as we would have wanted to. So according to you, opportunities and threats.
Yeah, so the opportunity arises now from one of our weaknesses, that is our low share of manufacturing in overall GDP. Okay, now that there is so much of focus on increasing manufacturing, you have the PLI schemes which are coming, you have incentives which the government is giving for different sectors. So this is an area of opportunity. And we are just talking about China plus one, right? There's a new terminology which has come into being, minus China. Okay.
Yeah, he mentioned that.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I missed that. So you have minus China. So it is that kind of interest that, companies, overseas companies have in Indian manufacturing capabilities, which they know currently we may not be there, but we will be reaching there given the focus which is there. And it's not just PLI schemes. You have the connectivity issues. You have your Gati Shakti, which is there. You know, you have your national logistics policy.
Yes.
All of these which are over time, or it will be not too far in the future, wherein all these will become very cost effective, okay, and it will help build on our global competitiveness.
Right.
That, to my mind, is a big opportunity which is there, okay. Now, in terms of threats, again, if we want to engage more with the global economy, it is again the health of the global economy which would have implications for us. So a situation of prolonged slowdown in the global economy
Yes, that's a threat.
could derail this plan of being the factory of the world or the office of the world.
We are already seeing this in terms of the export numbers that are coming, for example. The global situation becoming a sort of a threat. We have...
want to add here, though. You just mentioned about the toy exports, right? How did that come about? Okay, government came up with policies which limited the imports of toys. They raised the basic customs duty on toys, and at the same time, they helped promote exports. So these kind of policies are required across, industries, across sectors. Of course, this goes against the doctrine of free trade. But if you look back in history, all these countries which are developed today, when they were not developed, okay, they had aggressive industrial policies, wherein they had all these protectionist features there,
Right.
high tariffs and everything. So, probably we need to go down that route also.
All right. So I have to sort of bring this conversation to an end, Professor Pattnaik, since you were mentioning fiscal. I thought we would have had a little longer conversation on that, but Mr. S. Gurumurthy is here. And as they say, very welcome, sir. As they say, economic survey is about hardcore economics, but the budget is about political economy. We have been discussing hardcore economics. Mr. Gurumurthy would be giving us an idea of the political economy. Last quick word from you. There is a good fiscal deficit and there is a bad fiscal deficit. The good one, of course, crowds in investment and spurs growth. And then there is the bad fiscal deficit about which everyone talks. Quickly, according to you, at 6.4% for the central government, 3+ for the states, taken together about 10%, are we looking good on the fiscal front as we head into the budget cycle? So,
certainly not by one word. We are far beyond the FRBM target for quite some years. Compulsions are there.
Maybe because of the pandemic.
Pandemic was the latest cause of that. And fiscal deficit is fiscal deficit. There is no good, there is no bad. Right. Because borrowing beyond your means is bad. That we have taken that stance because we say capital expenditure of the government is good, revenue expenditure is bad. So that is how this concept has been popularized.
Right.
But borrowing is bad.
Right.
Borrowing is bad for two senses.
Right.
With the two points I will raise. One is it creates vicious cycle of deficit and debt.
Yes.
Whether you borrow for capital expenditure or borrow for revenue expenditure, you create the vicious cycle. Interest payment is there.
Right.
And also we take a comfort, particularly at the policy side, policymaker side. Look, we have satisfied the Dober condition. Our rate of growth is higher than the rate of interest.
Right.
That is what that is. But our primary deficit is much above if you expand the literature. So that is fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So fiscal sustainability is not there. Not only in India, it's a world phenomenon.
Right.
Everywhere that fiscal deficit is there.
Right.
That is how pandemic we front-loaded the monetary policy.
Right.
And that also created a fiscal problem.
Right.
In financing the fiscal deficit.
Right.
So not necessarily fiscal deficit is good or bad. It is fiscal deficit is bad, and whatever you do, you have to reduce fiscal deficit,
right.
Provided, as I started,
right.
You have to make revenue deficit zero.
All right.
Then the fiscal deficit could be good.
All right.